Welcome and thank you for tuning in to our Wheel and Anchor webinar featuring our upcoming Nauticals journey, Yachting the Turkish Mediterranean. This is a one-of-a-kind trip that blends ancient history, vibrant culture, and a laid-back elegance of life on the water. Over the next 30 minutes or so, I'll walk you through the full itinerary, day by day, highlighting the iconic landmarks, the hidden gems, and the immersive experiences that make this adventure so special. From the storied streets of Istanbul to the peaceful bays of the North Aegean Sea and beyond, this program brings together the best of Türkiye by land and by sea. We start off in Istanbul, and this is a city that's unlike any other. It's one of my favorite cities in Europe. It's the only metropolis in the world that straddles two continents. It's a place where Byzantine churches sit next to Ottoman mosques and where bustling bazaars meet elegant waterfront cafes. From there, we'll travel down the coast, down to the Aegean Sea, stopping in small villages and ancient ruins, and then we'll head down to meet our private yacht, a classic Turkish gulet, for a week of sailing, swimming, and serenity. Along the way, we'll visit some timeless sites like Ephesus and Knidos, enjoy a private cooking class, as well as sipping wine in a countryside vineyard. We'll discover remote coves that are only accessible by boat, and we've got a wonderful extension program for those that want to stay a little longer in Turkey, up to Cappadocia. And yep, you've seen or heard of this place before. This is where surreal landscapes and ancient cave churches await. This is the opportunity to take an unforgettable hot air balloon ride over this amazing scenery. This trip was designed for curious, culturally minded travelers who appreciate comfort, conversation, and the freedom to explore at a slower and more meaningful pace. Whether you're strolling through a market or sharing a bottle of wine under the stars, you'll have plenty of time and space to truly connect with the place, with your fellow travelers, as well as with the experience itself. Now, if you've joined us before, feel free to skip ahead to the map and the day-by-day itinerary using the time markers that are just below this video. But if this is your first time with Wheel and Anchor, then I invite you to stay with me for the next few slides, and I'll introduce a little bit about our community, our travel philosophy, and what makes our programs and the people on them so memorable. So before I dive into the details about this trip, I just want to take a moment to let you know a little bit about who we are, because Wheel and Anchor isn't just another tour company. In fact, we are a community of Canadian travelers who share a common outlook on what it means to explore the world meaningfully. My team and I don't just organize trips, although we do that too, but we help bring that shared travel philosophy to life. And what connects us is this deep curiosity and a desire for experiences that go beyond the surface. Of course, everybody has a bucket list in some way, shape, or form. And if you're watching this, chances are that Türkiye is somewhere on yours. Maybe it's a call to prayer echoing over the city of Istanbul at sunset, or the image of a gulet anchored in a quiet turquoise bay. But the real joy of travel, the kind that we aim to create, often lies just beyond those must-see places. It's about stumbling across a tiny tea house in Kadıköy where locals play backgammon over tulip glasses of K, or maybe chatting with a potter in Avanos whose hands shape the same red clay used by his ancestors thousands of years ago. That's why we intentionally design our itineraries with a generous amount of free time and flexibility, because we know that some of the most rewarding moments happen when you're not on a schedule, when you're simply present, discovering the rhythms of a place on your own terms. But perhaps the most powerful part of our trips is who you're sharing them with. After 3 decades of creating travel experiences for Canadians, I can tell you that what turns a great trip into something truly unforgettable is the company. Now, there's something truly comforting about exploring the world with fellow Canadians, people who just get you, who speak your language literally and figuratively, and who often end up becoming more than just fellow travelers. So if that sounds like your style, if you value good conversation over a glass of wine, shared laughs in surprising places, and the freedom to connect or explore independently, you may have just found your travel home with us here at Wheel and Anchor. As I've touched on already, our approach to travel goes far beyond simply ticking off landmarks or snapping photos of famous sites. At Wheel and Anchor, we believe that to truly experience a place, you have to engage with it on a deeper level. That's where our philosophy of being well-traveled and well-connected comes in. It's the combination of the two that makes a journey truly meaningful. For us, being well traveled means adopting what I like to call the curious wanderer's mindset. It's the ability to notice the small, beautiful details, whether it's the scent of spices drifting through the grand and the spice bazaars of Istanbul, or the shimmer of sunlight on the water as you sail past a quiet cove. Or maybe it's the sound of the call to prayer rising over a village at dusk. It's about embracing the unfamiliar and allowing it to gently shift your perspective on the world. Our journey through coastal Türkiye isn't just about exploring ancient cities like Ephesus or admiring the grandeur of the Hagia Sophia, although those moments will undoubtedly stay with you. But it's about sharing a home cooked meal in a village winery, feeling the wind in your hair aboard our gulet, or pausing to take in the view from a hilltop fort as the Aegean Sea stretches out endlessly below. It's these slower, more personal encounters that turn a trip into something truly unforgettable. These moments, unplanned, unscripted, and unhurried, that often become the most memorable. And this is what our definition is of being well traveled, which of course naturally flows into this idea of being well connected. And this is a big thing that separates us here at Wheel and Anchor from conventional tour operators. Because connection isn't merely about who travels alongside you, it's about how travel reshapes your connections to everything. We strive to create opportunities for you to learn traditional cooking methods from local families, or engage with artisans who are preserving decades old techniques, or even centuries old techniques, or maybe even sharing stories with locals who you meet along the way who are just as curious about Canada as you are about their homeland. Together, these elements create what we like to think of as the Wheel and Anchor transformation, returning home carrying not just mementos, but newfound perspectives that enrich your daily life, and lasting friendships that continue to inspire you long after your luggage is unpacked. Now, I just want to say a couple more things before we delve into the details of this program, because I want to tell you about who are the people of Wheel and Anchor beyond our members, of course. So I'm not going to introduce the whole team, but first of all, my name is Gordon Dreger. I'm the founder of Wheel and Anchor, and as I mentioned before, I've been working in and around travel for the better part of 35 years. I've organized trips for Canadians to just about all parts of the globe. But I couldn't pull off all of these promises that I've just talked about without an incredible team of people, all of whom are as dedicated as I am to ensuring that we deliver some of the best experiences for our members. Now, the person who's most important for you, though, is our lead trip specialist, Paula Zarnik, just to the right of me here. And she's the one who, when you drop us a note or you give us a call, will most likely be the first one who will make sure that you get your questions answered and to assist you with this decision whether to join us on this or any of our trips. So, without further ado, let's dive into what makes our trip to Türkiye so special. The plan for this webinar, as with all of our webinars, is pretty straightforward. I'm going to be your virtual guide, and I'm going to take you on a little journey around Türkiye and share with what you can expect from this incredible nautical style trip. I'll start off with a geographical overview of the map, and then I'll walk through the highlights of each day of this adventure. Now, just to clarify, if you're not sure what a nautical style of trip is, this is all about exploring the world from the water, most often on yachts or riverboats, in this case, a gulet. And we often charter them, as with this program, exclusively for our Wheel and Anchor members. And this creates an intimate, club-like atmosphere that allows you to reach places that larger ships simply can't. Whether it's sailing along storied rivers or anchoring in quiet coves like we'll do here on the Mediterranean coast of Türkiye, nautical trips blend comfort, discovery, and camaraderie for a unique perspective on each destination, making the journey itself as memorable as the places that we'll visit. So let's start with the map, as I always do, and get a bit of a lay of the land before we dive into the itinerary itself. So this journey is going to take us along the southwestern coast of Türkiye, at least the part where we're on the gulet. But we're going to start off in Istanbul, which is a city that spans both Europe and Asia. It's separated by the Bosphorus Canal. From Istanbul, where we'll spend the first few nights, we're going to travel south, passing through Bursa, one of the earliest capitals of the Ottoman Empire. And then we're going to continue on to the Aegean town of Ayvalık, known for its olive groves, its neoclassical architecture, and its unhurried pace. We'll then make a stop in Ephesus, on the way to Bodrum, and this is one of the world's most remarkable Greco-Roman archaeological sites. And when we arrive in Bodrum, this is a stylish, quite frenetic coastal city, and this is where we'll board our private gulet and begin the nautical portion of our adventure. Over the course of a week, we'll sail along the Turkish Mediterranean and we'll explore secluded bays, island villages, and quiet stretches of coastline. We'll make stops at places like Knidos and Datça and Selimiye and Lorima and Ekinekçek and the Fethiye Gulf, and my Turkish is not that great. So, but some lovely little towns. There'll be opportunities to swim, to kayak, and relax along the way. We'll end up in the peaceful harbor town of Göcek, where we'll enjoy a final evening on land before heading home or continuing on to our optional excursion in Cappadocia, which is located in the central part of Turkey. And this region is like otherworldly. It's famous for the rock-hewn churches, the fairy chimneys, and the early morning hot air balloon rides. This whole route offers a unique way to experience Türkiye's depth and diversity, connecting its ancient past, its coastal beauty, and its warm hospitality in a journey that is as enriching as it is relaxing. So with a view from above, let's now dive down to the coast, and I'll share with you the day-to-day details of our program. So welcome to Turkey. This is where East and West converge in a city like no other. Now, these days, Turkish Airlines, which is one of my favorites, and it's also a Star Alliance partner, they offer non-stop service from Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver directly to Istanbul. Air Canada also has a flight from Toronto to Istanbul. So once you land and go through the usual immigration procedures and pick up your bags, our friendly local team will greet you at the gigantic new airport that Istanbul recently built and arrange your transfer to our centrally located hotel, which is just a stone's throw from some of the city's most iconic sites like the Hagia Sophia. Our first day is all about settling in at your own pace. After a long journey, you might want to just relax at the hotel or stretch your legs with a gentle stroll around the neighborhood, perhaps catching your first glimpse of the Bosphorus or hearing the distant call to prayer echo across the rooftops. There's nothing scheduled for this first day other than perhaps an informal get-together with your fellow members, so you'll have lots of time to unwind, enjoy a quiet dinner, and prepare yourself for the start of this extraordinary adventure through history, coastline, and culture. Just outside your door, thousands of years of stories await. We'll begin our trip with a deep dive into one of the world's most historically layered cities. We'll start off the morning with a brief orientation with your host, and this will be a chance to get to know your fellow travelers and hear a little bit about how we travel as a community. We'll then set off on foot for a half-day guided walking tour of Istanbul's most iconic landmarks, starting with a hippodrome, which was once the social and sporting center of the Byzantine life. We'll step inside the extraordinary Hagia Sophia. It was once a cathedral, then a mosque, then a museum. Now it's a mosque again. It captures Istanbul's complex identity in a single awe-inspiring space. We'll then head over to the underground cistern, a vast atmospheric chamber of ancient columns and softly lit arches underneath the city. And we'll end up our morning at the Grand Bazaar, a labyrinth of shops and colors where you'll have free time to browse or soak up the atmosphere. We'll have our welcome dinner tonight, the first of many get-togethers at a local restaurant where we'll toast the beginning of our journey and we'll taste some of Türkiye's classic dishes and warm hospitality. Today is going to be all about experiencing Istanbul's unique geography and its vibrant neighborhoods on 2 continents. We'll descend to the water right away and we'll have a little private cruise along the Bosphorus Strait, where the skyline of domes and minarets gives way to opulent waterfront palaces and colorful fishing villages. We'll get off on the Asian side in Kadıköy, a bustling neighborhood known for its pedestrian-friendly market streets and its laid-back vibe. After exploring the area for a while, we'll sit down for lunch at a local restaurant. And this part of the city is really known for its food scene. We'll then hop on a ferry over to Karaköy, and no visit here would be complete without a stop for baklava at Guloğlu, which is one of the most famous sweet shops in the city. We'll end up the afternoon with a walk through the area called Galata. It's a historic part of town filled with art galleries, cafes, and the landmark Galata Tower looming above the rooftops. You'll have the evening to enjoy dinner on your own. There's so many places to choose from in the city. And you may also want to just relax and head back to the hotel, given that you may still be feeling some of the effects of jet lag. So, today we're going to trade monuments for flavor, and we're going to try our hand at preparing our own Turkish delight. Not that kind of Turkish delight. We'll start off with a visit to the famous Spice Bazaar, which is also known as the Egyptian Market. This is a feast for the senses. Heaps of saffron, rose petals, dried fruits, and spices fill the air with rich aromas. Nearby, we'll also visit the Rustem Pasha Mosque, which is an under the radar gem that was designed by Sinan, who was one of the most celebrated architects in the Ottoman Empire. Its intimate scale and exquisite tile work make it one of the most charming mosques in the city. We'll then head to a local kitchen for a hands on Turkish cooking class. We'll learn how to prepare a 5 course meal using the rich flavors and ingredients of Turkish cuisine. And of course, we'll sit down at the end to enjoy the fruits of all of our labor, paired with some local Turkish wine, something you might not have tried before. This is a wonderful way to connect not only with the food culture of Türkiye, but also with each other. After lunch, we'll head back to the hotel for a relaxed afternoon and evening at leisure. This morning, we'll say goodbye to Istanbul and begin our overland journey to the Aegean coast. Our destination will be Ayvalık, a beautiful seaside town known for its neoclassical charm and olive groves. As we head out of the sprawling metropolis of Istanbul, our first stop will be in Bursa, which was the first capital of the Ottoman Empire and a city that's often overlooked but quite rich in history and culture. Here we'll visit the Green Mosque and the Mausoleum, famous for their vibrant Iznik tile work. And then we'll walk through the Kozahan Caravanserai, which was once a major stop on the ancient Silk Road. And today it's filled with silk shops and tea gardens. We'll pause for lunch at a local restaurant and we'll try out some more regional specialties. It's a great time to try some Iskender kebab, a dish that originated right here in Bursa, but you might be familiar with from the streets of Toronto or Vancouver. From there, we'll continue our scenic drive along the southern shores of the Sea of Marmara, arriving in Ayvalık in the late afternoon. We'll have the evening at leisure to settle into this atmospheric town, perhaps taking a walk along the harbor or relaxing with a glass of wine overlooking the water. Today, we're going to head up to the Kozak Plateau. It's a region known for its rugged pine forests and rural villages. First, we'll stop in a small local village and we'll get a chance to meet some of the residents and get a feel for life in this traditional farming region of the country. It's a chance to connect with the side of Turkey that few travelers get to see, where time moves slowly and the hospitality runs deep. We'll then head over to the beautiful Madra vineyards, nestled among the hills. We'll begin with a tour of the vineyards and the winery, learning about Turkish winemaking and the unique terroir of the Aegean coast. You've probably not had a chance to try Turkish wine before, unless, of course, you visited Türkiye, but you'll be truly amazed. And this was a day that's always been a highlight with our members. We'll have a relaxed lunch paired with wines from the estate. The setting is really idyllic. The food, obviously local, farm to table, and it's one of those perfect afternoons where conversation flows as easily as the wine. We'll return back down back down the mountain, back to Ayvalık in the afternoon, and you'll have the evening free to enjoy at your own pace. We'll stay close to home today as we explore a little bit more of Ayvalık's cultural side. We'll start off with a visit to the 19th century Tax Arches Church, which is now restored as part of the town's architectural heritage. It's got a high dome and a very colorful interior, and it's an incredible example of Ayvalık's past as a multicultural port town. It'll be then time to dive into the colors and aromas of the Ayvalık Fresh Produce Market. And if you love food and photography, this will undoubtedly be a highlight. Locals come here to buy fruits and vegetables, herbs and cheeses, and the whole scene is really vibrant and full of life. Finally, we'll visit the Olive Oil Museum, which is housed in a former olive press factory. Olive oil is really the heart of the region's economy and cuisine, and this museum will give us a fascinating look at its production over the centuries. We'll be back to the hotel in time for lunch, and then we'll gather again this evening at a local restaurant, which will be a lovely time to reflect on our experience here on the Aegean coast in this lovely little archipelago before we move on to the next stage of our journey. Today, on our way to Bodrum, we're going to journey deep into the ancient heart of Türkiye, beginning with an early departure to one of the most legendary sites of the ancient world, Ephesus. Located roughly halfway on our journey between Ayvalık and Bodrum, Ephesus was once a bustling port city of the Greek and later on the Roman empires. It was home to over 250,000 people at its peak, and today it remains one of the most impressive archaeological open-air museums anywhere in the world. As we walk around its marble avenues, you'll pass temples and bathhouses and a grand amphitheater, and of course the stunning Library of Celsus, a monument to knowledge that still commands awe after nearly 2,000 years. History comes alive here in the most tangible way because you'll be walking in the footsteps of St. Paul, Cleopatra, Emperor Hadrian, and with each column and carved stone, you'll gain a sense of what life was like in one of the greatest cities in the ancient world. After our guided exploration, we'll have lunch at a local nearby restaurant, sampling some more regional Aegean flavors before continuing our journey south. And along the way, we'll make another scenic stop at Lake Baffa, which is a tranquil lake formed by the boulders and pine-studded hills of the region. It was once part of the Aegean Sea, and it's steeped in myth. Ancient lore claims that this was one of the settings for the marriage of the river god Meander. By late afternoon, we'll pull into Bodrum, which will be our entry point to the Turkish Riviera. This is a sun-kissed town, blending whitewashed charm with cosmopolitan flair. It's home to artists and sailors and storytellers. We'll have the evening free to enjoy. You might wander around the harborfront promenade, exploring the cobbled stone back streets, or you'll find a breezy terrace for a sunset drink as we get ready to embark on our gulet adventure tomorrow. Bodrum is often referred to as the Saint-Tropez of Turkey, but beyond its stylish yachts and boutiques, it has a rich history. It was once the ancient city of the Halicarnassus, and it's home to the remnants of one of the seven wonders of the ancient world, the mausoleum of the Halicarnassus. We'll have a guided walking tour through the old town this morning, and we'll take in the whitewashed houses and the cobbled streets and views of the fortress that loom over the harbor. After the tour, we'll have some free time to grab some lunch and walk around at leisure, browsing the shops and cafes along the waterfront. And then in the late afternoon, our nautical journey will begin. We'll head down to the marina for the embarkation on our private gulet. We'll have our first dinner on board, which will kick off the next chapter of our adventure with great food, good company, as the sun dips behind the hills of Bodrum. Let me take a moment and share with you a little bit about our vessel, since this is obviously a highlight of our trip. Now, Turkish gulets are traditional handcrafted wooden vessels that originated along Turkiye's southwestern coast, and they combine the charm of classic sailing with modern motorized convenience. Now, these ships don't actually sail, they're under power most of the time. They will put the sails up on request, but it's more for show because we need to get from A to B to C. Nevertheless, these motor sailing yachts represent centuries of Turkish maritime craftsmanship, and they were built by skilled artisans using premium materials like mahogany and teak. And at 40 meters in length, the Never Queen exemplifies the tradition of Turkish gulet building while offering the perfect scale for our intimate group sizes. A lot of the boats you'll see are smaller gulets that feel cramped, or otherwise there's, of course, massive yachts and cruise ships that lack intimacy. This vessel accommodates up to 18 guests plus our host, and it provides all of the authentic Turkish charm and the spacious comfort which is ideal for our Nauticals style of travel. The gulet features exceptional amenities designed for ultimate relaxation and enjoyment. The vessel has a professional 7-member crew, including an experienced chef who will prepare fresh, delicious meals every day using both Turkish and international recipes. We'll have breakfast and lunch on board every day, as well as some of the dinners, while other dinners we can enjoy on shore at one of the villages that we'll visit and be moored at along the way. There's also afternoon Turkish coffee and tea service, and there's a stock bar with a selection of alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages, which are included in the program. There's also an on-deck jacuzzi, paddle boards. There's a great swimming platform for easy access to the water, and you must swim when you're on this trip. And of course, there's also ample room on the sun decks for relaxation, and of course, complimentary Wi-Fi so that you can send pictures home and make all your friends and family jealous. The Never Queen has a total of 10 elegantly appointed cabins, which will accommodate up to 18 guests plus our host. There's two master suites like the one you can see pictured here, as well as 7 double or twin cabins. And each stateroom has, of course, ensuite bathrooms with shower facilities, air conditioning, LED TV with satellite programming, as well as individual music systems. The cabin design is really thoughtful, and it allows comfortable access to the beds from both sides. Again, something that you don't often see on many of these gulets. This maximizes the space sufficiency and comfort for our guests. All of these rooms have ample storage, portholes or windows for natural light, and modern amenities that really rival five-star hotels. The cabins are around 9.5 to 9.7 square meters, so it's a comfortable and private retreat. But at the same time, the idea is that you want to spend as much of your time as possible on deck, enjoying the incredible scenery. This morning, we'll drop anchor at Knidos, a stunning archaeological site at the tip of the Dacia Peninsula. This is where the Aegean and Mediterranean seas technically meet. And it's here in its heyday that Knidos was a major cultural and scientific center, home to renowned astronomers, architects, and physicians. As we go ashore, we'll walk through what remains of this once glorious city. It's an ancient amphitheater, crumbling temples, and harbors that once welcomed ships from across the ancient world. Knidos is perhaps most famous for the statue of Aphrodite that once stood here, considered to be the first major sculpture to depict the goddess nude. Though the original is long gone, the energy of that groundbreaking art and innovation still lingers in the breeze. And speaking of breezes, there's something truly enchanting about exploring these ruins with the scent of wild herbs in the air and the sound of waves lapping at the shore. It's a moment where history and nature meet in perfect harmony. From Knidos, we'll cruise to Dacia, a charming harbor town that feels worlds away from the bustle of modern life. With its turquoise waters and easygoing rhythm, this is the ideal place for a swim, a paddleboard, or simply to stretch out on deck with a good book. Later that day, we'll have time to wander the Dacia promenade, where bougainvillea drapes over stone walls and fishermen mend their nets in the late afternoon sun. Make sure you try the local almond-based desserts. Dacia is famed for its almonds, and the sweets here are simple, delicate, and absolutely delicious. Whether you're diving into history or the sea, today is a celebration of Turkey's natural beauty and its timeless soul. Today, our gulet will glide into Bensik Bay, a narrow fjord-like inlet that's embraced by pine-covered hills. This was once considered as a potential hiding spot for the Ottoman fleet. It's a serene bay that remains blissfully untouched and a natural haven where the only sounds are birds, the breeze, and the gentle ripple of water. And in fact, the water here is exceptionally clear and calm, making it perfect for a morning swim, another little paddleboard, or maybe even a snorkel. You might spot sea bream darting around below, or simply float on your back, taking in the scent of the pine trees that fringe the shoreline. It's these quiet, immersive moments in nature that define our nautical journeys. As the day unfolds, we'll sail through a chain of hidden coves and forested slopes, eventually arriving in the tranquil little village of Selimiye. Tucked away along the Gulf of Hirasonu, Selimiye feels like a well-kept secret. There's no rush here, there's no tourist crowds, just stone houses with wooden shutters, fishermen repairing nets on the docks, and the soft clang of sailboats at rest. We'll spend the afternoon strolling along the waterfront, exploring a few local craft shops and small galleries, and maybe we'll find a little seaside spot to sip a glass of Turkish wine while watching the boats bob in the harbor. The seafood here is legendary, caught the same day, often just hours before it hits the plate. Selimiye is the kind of place that lingers in your memory long after you leave, not just for its grand monuments, but for its gentle rhythm, its warm hospitality, and the feeling that for a little while you've entirely stepped out of time. As we cruise further into the Mediterranean, the landscape shifts from verdant hills to rugged rock faces and turquoise blue waters. Today we'll arrive in at Lorima, also known as Bozucale Bay, where we'll anchor for lunch on board and enjoy another chance for swimming, kayaking, or just taking in the beautiful views. For those that are interested, there's an optional little walk we can take to an ancient Rhodian fort that stands sentry over the bay. The views from the top are spectacular, and the sense of history is palpable. In the late afternoon, we'll continue on to Cerce Bay, where it's a peaceful cove surrounded by cliffs. It was once a refuge for Byzantine traders and pirates alike, and now it's our private sanctuary for the evening. Dinner tonight will be served on board under a blanket of stars. No traffic, no noise, just nature, stillness, and the gentle rhythm of the sea. Today we'll trade the open water for winding river channels as we explore one of the most enchanting stretches of Türkiye's coastline, the Dalian Delta, where nature and mythology seem to flow together. As we meander through a labyrinth of reeds and water lilies, ancient history appears before us, literally etched into the cliffs. The dramatic Lycian rock tombs carved high above the river resemble miniature temples, standing as eternal sentinels to a once great civilization. These tombs date back to the 4th century BC, and they were built for kings and nobles, designed to guide their souls to the afterlife, with views that even the gods would envy. Further inland, we'll arrive at the ruins of Kaunos, an atmospheric site that blends Greek and Roman influences. As we wander around through the crumbling temples, theaters, and baths, you might imagine the bustling city that once thrived here, perched between two ancient worlds. And then we'll have a little bit of lighthearted fun, an optional dip in the local mud baths, which are rich in minerals and even richer in local lore. It's a little silly, a little squishy, and strangely rejuvenating. One of those delightful travel moments you never quite expect, but you'll certainly remember. Back on board, we'll have a quiet evening, whether we dine under the stars on deck or wander ashore for a seafood dinner. The memories of tombs, temples, and muddy laughter will linger long into the night. Today brings one of our final land-based excursions, and it's certainly a memorable one. We'll sail into the Fethiye Gulf, a region famed for its azure waters and secluded coves. Ideal spot for a swim, a little stretch on deck, or even some fishing for those who are so inclined. But we'll also head ashore for a full-day excursion by a little minibus. Our first stop will be Kayaköy, a ghost village that seems to be frozen in time. It was once home to a thriving Greek community, but the town was abandoned in the 1920s as the population exchanged between Greece and Turkey. Today, it's a hauntingly beautiful site with hundreds of stone houses cascading down the hillside. It's quiet, evocative, and steeped in history. From there, we'll continue through to Hisaronu, a mountain village known for its cable car ride up to some pretty panoramic viewpoints. The views from the top stretch across the sea and the mountains, and it's a perfect photo opportunity. And finally, we'll visit the famous Blue Lagoon Beach, one of the most photographed spots in Türkiye, with its still turquoise waters curving into a wonderful sheltered bay. But of course, as we are on a yacht cruise, the penultimate day is all about enjoying the water. We'll start off in the quiet beauty of Tersane Bay, where history lies literally just beneath the surface. This was once a Byzantine shipyard, and the peaceful cove is now home to sunken ruins that are scattered all along the shoreline and the seabed. We'll glide through the crystal clear water above ancient boathouses and crumbled churches, where centuries of stories sleep beneath the waves. It's a rare and poetic blend of natural stillness and human history, all framed by the deep green of the pine forests. From there, we sail onward to the Yasika Islands, a scattering of untouched islets where time feels suspended. With no development, no noise, and only the sound of lapping water, it's the perfect place for a final swim in the warm Mediterranean Sea. A lazy float beneath the sun, or simply a moment of quiet gratitude for the journey that we've just been enjoying. As the sun begins to dip, we anchor in the tranquil harbor town of Göcek, beloved for its elegant marina and its laid-back charm. You might feel drawn ashore for a wander, perhaps to sample one last baklava or sip a glass of rakia. or maybe you'll want to pick up a little handmade keepsake to carry back home from Türkiye with you. It's a fitting close to our days at sea, one last evening where the air is scented with salt and pine, and the stars above seem to shine just a little bit brighter. This morning we'll bid a fond farewell to the crew of our faithful gulet, the floating home that carried us through hidden coves, ancient ports, and peaceful bays. Though we leave the water behind, the memories of laughter over shared meals, swims in secluded inlets, and sunsets from the deck will undoubtedly stay with us. Back on shore in Göcek, the day invites us to slow down and just savor the moment. Whether it's a gentle walk through the village streets, browsing through the local little artisan shops, or simply reflecting on the journey with a cup of Turkish tea in hand, this is the time to soak in the final notes of the Mediterranean rhythm. As the sun begins to set, we'll come together for a special farewell dinner, a last evening of stories, toasts, and shared smiles. It's a celebration not just of where we've been, but of the connections we've made, the landscapes we've admired, and the unique magic of exploring Türkiye by sea. And just like that, our journey draws to a close, at least the main part anyway. And as you prepare to head home, there might be time for one more coffee by the water or a quiet walk through the streets of Göcek, depending on what time your flight will depart. And of course, our private transfer will bring you to the airport in Dalaman for the flight to Istanbul and either home from there, or for those who'd like a few more days to explore this amazing country, on to Cappadocia. Now, if you're someone who's intrigued by otherworldly landscapes, cave churches, and the magic of floating over ancient valleys at sunrise, then this optional 5-day excursion to Cappadocia might be exactly what you're looking for. Located in the central part of Türkiye, Cappadocia is one of those rare places where nature and culture have collided over millennia to create something truly extraordinary. Think about fairy chimneys, underground cities, frescoed cave churches, and panoramic views that change color with the light of the day. Let's take a look at what this unique add on experience includes. For those joining us for this post trip, we'll be flying from Dalaman Airport via Istanbul to the heart of Cappadocia. Once we arrive, it's only a few hours flight, including the connection. We'll transfer to our hotel, check in, and ease into our surroundings with a little half-day excursion around town. We'll start off with a traditional lunch in Gulsehir, where we'll try pide, often referred to as Turkish pizza, serving piping hot from wood-fired ovens. After lunch, we'll head off to visit the Church of St. John, which again is the first of many of these rock-hewn churches. It's carved into the volcanic rock and home to remarkable frescoes dating back over 1,000 years. From there, we'll head over to Uchisar, where we'll get oriented in one of Cappadocia's oldest towns, crowned by a fortress-like rock that offers breathtaking views. Dinner tonight will be on your own, perhaps in the hotel restaurant or in one of the nearby cafes overlooking the valleys. Now, today will be a day to remember, because if you've ever dreamed of taking a hot air balloon ride, this is your moment. For those who opt in, we'll get up bright and early before dawn to head over and watch as they inflate the giant balloons and head up to drift above Cappadocia's surreal landscape. The sun will illuminate these fairy chimneys, the vineyards, the valleys in the soft golden hues of the morning light. This is one of the most unforgettable experiences you can have, not only in Türkiye, but anywhere. Later in the morning, we'll regroup for a full-day guided tour of the region. We'll begin with a scenic drive through the valleys, followed by a visit to the Göreme Open Air Museum, a UNESCO World Heritage Site known for its rock-cut churches and frescoes. We'll also visit the Dark Church, famous for its well-preserved paintings. And for lunch, we'll be welcomed into a family-run restaurant in a valley village where we'll enjoy some authentic home-cooked dishes served with warm Anatolian hospitality. On today's excursion, we'll venture into the northern part of Cappadocia, a landscape sculpted by volcanoes and polished by time. We'll begin our day in Devrent Valley, which is a surreal landscape often called Imagination Valley, for good reason. Because here, the soft volcanic rock has been sculpted by centuries of wind and weather into some fantastical shapes. You can let your imagination run wild. You might see a camel, a seal, or even the unmistakable outline of Napoleon's hat among the formations. It's like nature's own open-air art gallery. From there, we'll slip back a millennium or two at the Zelv Open Air Museum. It was once a bustling cave village and monastery complex. You can imagine the monks chanting in rock cut chapels while farmers tended vineyards clinging to the cliffs. Archaeologists have said that this area was continuously inhabited for more than 1,500 years. Our next stop will be Pasaba, or the Valley of the Monks, home to Cappadocia's most photogenic fairy chimneys, towering stone spires crowned with basalt caps. Local legend claims that hermits once retreated to their tops to meditate in solitude. And by midday, we'll reach Avanos, a riverside town where the Red River's iron-rich clay has fueled pottery workshops since Hittite times, which is nearly 4,000 years. After a relaxed lunch of regional specialties, we'll step into an artisan studio to watch master potters spin that same red clay into elegant vessels. This morning, we'll explore Kaymakli Underground City, one of the largest in Cappadocia. Here we'll find a complex of tunnels and rooms that was once a refuge for early Christians escaping persecution. It's chilly, it's cavernous, and it's utterly fascinating. From there, we'll continue on to Mustafa Pasha, a peaceful village with Greek and Turkish influences known for its beautiful stonework and quiet charm. It's recognized by UNWTO as one of the world's best tourism villages. It really offers a glimpse of Cappadocia's more tranquil and less visited side. After returning to the hotel, we'll have time to relax before we head out for a very special final evening because we're going to be treated to a whirling dervishes performance at the Sauran Caravanserai, a restored 13th century roadside inn. The spiritual ritual of the dervishes is both mesmerizing and deeply moving. After the performance, we'll gather for a farewell dinner at a local restaurant to celebrate the end of our extraordinary journey. For our departure this morning, we'll coordinate private airport transfers either to Nevşehir or Kayseri Airport, depending on the flight arrangements that you've made. We'll take one last look at the magical landscape of Cappadocia before heading home. Your camera might be full at this point, although I doubt that, but I promise that the real souvenirs are the stories and the friendships that you've collected along the way. So hopefully what I've shared today about our trip yachting the Turkish Mediterranean and our post-trip to Cappadocia has captured a little bit of your imagination. And at this point, if you're interested at all in the specifics of this trip, we've got plenty available. And the best way to get all the information is to visit our website. And just below this video in the description box, you'll find a link which will take you directly to the webpage for our upcoming trips. There, you'll on those web pages, you'll find a summary, the starting prices, and most importantly, another link, which is to our detailed trip itinerary. And in that document, you'll find everything, all of the descriptions of what I've talked about today, all of the pricing, terms and conditions, deposits, everything that you could possibly need to know about this trip. So after reading all this information and perhaps doing a little independent research on your own, by that point you might still have some questions. Is this the right trip for me? And I would encourage you to give us a call, drop us an email. Paula will be there and she's more than delighted to assist in answering any questions to ensure you have everything you need to know to decide whether to join us on this trip. So thank you for spending the last half hour or so with me on this virtual journey covering Türkiye. Our trips are designed really to give you more than just a typical tour. They're really about experiencing a destination, and I hope that you find that this has been exactly that. If you enjoy following our webinars on new trips, you might consider subscribing to our YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button just below. That way you'll be alerted anytime we release a new webinar or trip. But otherwise, once again, thank you for taking the time to explore this part of the world with me. And if you're not already on our newsletter list, that's where each week we send out a little circular to all of our members talking about some of the new places that we're visiting and sharing some stories from the world of travel. I hope to see you on one of these incredible adventures. And in the meantime, I wish you happy travels.